DoNotAge is a popular supplement brand with fairly good reputation for quality and trustworthiness. They have 100% pure ingredients that are third-party tested for high purity and low heavy metal content, and they also help to fund longevity research. So in this video I'm going to give you an unbiased and unsponsored review of all the supplements DoNotAge has. I'm going to look at the studies for those ingredients at those doses to see if they actually work. This is another longer video, so all the timestamps are in the description below, so if you want to check out a specific ingredient. One of the flagship products of DoNotAge is their SIRT6 Activator. Sirtuins are a family of proteins that regulate the metabolism, DNA repair, energy production, and circadian rhythms. In humans there are 7 sirtuins, SIRT1 to SIRT7. Sirtuins are often thought to be longevity genes, but the evidence for that is quite limited. Many of the common sirtuins like SIRT1, SIRT2 and SIRT3 haven't been found to extend lifespan even in animal models. But they do appear to improve metabolic health under certain conditions. When it comes to SIRT6, then it's the only sirtuin seen to lengthen the lifespan of male mice by 10 to 15.8%, but not in female mice in a 2012 study. However, in that study, the mice also had low IGF-1 levels, which means that the life extension could have been because of the low IGF-1. The same authors did another study in 2021 on inbred mice, and they found that SIRT6 overexpression extended median lifespan of male mice by 27% and female mice by 15%. But these mice also had lower IGF-1 levels to begin with. SIRT1 alone didn't extend lifespan, but combined with SIRT6 it did. So it's not clear whether these life extension effects are because of SIRT6 or the low IGF-1 levels. Low IGF-1 is consistently and repeatedly shown to extend lifespan in animals, so it's very likely that these effects are because of the low IGF-1. Another mechanism by which SIRT6 appears to support longevity in mice is by maintaining gluconeogenesis, the process of producing glucose from amino acids and fatty acids. A higher glucose level in mice is associated with longevity, but in non-human primates and in humans it's the opposite. Check out this graph from a study looking at mortality between groups with the highest glucose and lowest glucose. The orange line indicates the highest quartile of blood glucose, and the higher the line, the greater the survival. As you can see, in mice, the higher glucose in older and late life correlates with greater survival, but in non-human primates and humans, it's the opposite across all age groups. Higher glucose reduces survival in humans across all ages. So overexpressing SIRT6 might have longevity effects if it's not because of the low IGF-1 levels. But in humans the results could be completely different as well, which is why we would need more specific research on humans. DoNotAge SIRT6 Activator is made of fucoidan, which is a polysaccharide in some brown algae. It has 400 mg of fucoidan per capsule derived from seaweed Fucus vesiculosus, but it's hard to say if that dose is efficacious because of the lack of studies. Moving on with NMN and NR, which are one of the most popular NAD supplements. I've made a video comparing the human studies on NMN and NR that you can check out here. I'm not going to go through all of those studies here, but here's a brief summary. Both NMN and NR raise NAD levels in a dose-dependent manner, and doses up to 1000 mg have been seen to be safe and increase NAD. Neither NR or NMN has consistent life extension effects in animal studies. NR has multiple clinical trials in humans showing it has anti-inflammatory effects. NMN has some evidence it might help with insulin sensitivity and exercise, but it's not that strong. Overall, there's not that much evidence for NMN and NR when we're talking about health outcomes, but they do raise NAD in a dose-dependent manner. DoNotAge has 500 mg of NMN per capsule and 350 mg of NR per capsule, which are on the lower end of the dose. In the clinical trials on NMN and NR, they've used up to 1000 mg for both. Next, we have a skin anti-aging supplement called Hyaluronic Acid that helps to maintain hydration of the skin. Hyaluronic acid in the skin starts decreasing after the age of 25. And a 75-year-old has only 1/4 of the hyaluronic acid as someone who's 19 years old. In a 2021 randomized controlled trial, they found that 120 mg a day of hyaluronic acid for 12 weeks improved skin condition and decreased wrinkles in 40 healthy Asian people between the ages of 35 and 64. Another 2017 randomized controlled trial showed that oral hyaluronic acid at a dose of 120 mg a day and at both a molecular weight of 2 kilodaltons and 300 kilodaltons improved skin condition and wrinkles, but the higher molecular weight of 300 kilodaltons showed significantly greater effects in alleviating wrinkles. So a supplemental dose of 120 mg a day of hyaluronic acid appears to have benefits on skin anti-aging. DoNotAge has 200 mg of hyaluronic acid per capsule, which is more than enough. DoNotAge also has regular collagen peptides. Starting already at the age of 20, you lose a bit less than 10% of your skin's collagen content with every decade. By the age of 70, you could have lost up to 50% of your skin collagen content. Taking collagen supplements has been consistently shown to reduce wrinkles. There are many human clinical trials, including a 2023 meta-analysis of 26 randomized controlled trials showing that collagen peptides improve skin hydration, reduce wrinkles, and reverse signs of skin aging. The dosages in these clinical trials range from as low as 2.5 grams a day up to 12 grams a day. DoNotAge has 10 grams of hydrolyzed collagen peptides per scoop, which is the optimal dose. The next supplement is another regular on the channel, creatine. Many people know creatine for muscle growth benefits, but there's also studies showing it can improve memory and cognition, especially in older people. You can check out my other full videos about creatine here. DoNotAge has 5 grams of creatine per scoop, which is a great amount, although you might need only 3 grams if you're a lighter weight person. Calcium alpha-ketoglutarate or AKG is another popular longevity supplement. AKG is involved in the metabolism, specifically the Krebs cycle that generates energy. AKG levels decline with age by about tenfold after the age of 40, which makes it plausible that supplementation could have health benefits. When it comes to life extension, then there are most studies showing that AKG extends lifespan by up to 20% and health span by 40%. When it comes to humans, then a 2022 review on AKG stated that a few studies published in the 1980s and 1990s in humans suggested the potential benefits of AKG in muscle growth, wound healing, and promoting faster recovery after surgery. So far, there are no recently published studies demonstrating the role of AKG in treating aging and age-related diseases. Hence, further clinical studies are required to better understand the role of AKG in humans. One of the main reasons calcium AKG is so popular is because of this study that found that it reduced biological age. A 2021 study on humans saw that taking 1000 milligrams of calcium AKG for 7 months reduced the DNA methylation age of 42 individuals by 8 years. Now, the problem with this study is that these DNA methylation age tests are not that reliable and they're often misleading. We don't necessarily know what does it mean to have a lower biological age and whether or not it actually correlates with longevity. Second of all, this study was also done by a company on their patented formula called Rejuvent, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. There is currently another clinical trial called ABLE being done that seeks to replicate these findings. They're using 1000 milligrams of calcium AKG for 6 months on 120 people between the ages of 40 and 60, and they'll also measure functional outcomes like grip strength, aerobic capacity, arterial stiffness, and inflammatory markers. In my opinion, those secondary outcomes are much more practical, like seeing improvements in your VO2 max and grip strength would correlate a lot more with longevity than these biological age tests right now. DoNotAge calcium AKG contains 400 milligrams per capsule, so you'd have to take 2 to 3 capsules for the optimal dose of 800 to 1200 milligrams. However, that will also give you about 300 to 400 milligrams of calcium. Calcium supplements can cause hypercalcemia in the blood, which is associated with cardiovascular events in randomized controlled trials, but that's mostly with larger doses of calcium, like 1000 milligrams per day. It might be that using arginine AKG could be better because you avoid the extra calcium, but there are no specific studies done on arginine AKG at the moment. Next, we have trimethylglycine, also known as betaine. One of the main longevity benefits of TMG is that it lowers homocysteine. Homocysteine is an amino acid that, if elevated, is a risk factor for dementia, heart disease, and stroke. Trimethylglycine is a methyl donor because it has an attached methyl group, and it supports methylation, which helps to lower homocysteine levels. Meta-analyses have shown that taking up to 4 grams of TMG per day for 6 weeks can lower blood homocysteine in healthy adults. Doses over 4 grams a day can increase cholesterol, but a dose below 4 grams a day lowers homocysteine without raising lipids. TMG has also been seen to benefit exercise, although not consistently. Some studies find that TMG increases lean body mass and decreases fat mass slightly, but those studies are usually quite small, with only 12 people taking TMG. A 2017 review of randomized controlled trials on TMG supplementation showed that out of 7 trials, only 2 showed improvements in strength and power, whereas the remaining 5 showed no effect. In a 2022 study on collegiate athletes, 6 weeks of 5 grams of TMG a day resulted in some improvements in the 1 rep max of the bench press, overhead press, sumo deadlift, and half squat. However, this study was also very small. Only 7 people in the TMG group and 7 in the placebo group. Overall, trimethylglycine is certainly useful for lowering homocysteine. The results about exercise performance are much more mixed. DoNotAge has 500 milligrams of TMG per capsule, which means you would have to take 4 to 8 capsules to get the optimal dose for homocysteine of 2 to 4 grams of TMG. Next is CoQ10. CoQ10 is considered a mitochondrial supplement that supports energy and heart function. A 2022 meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials concluded that there is evidence that CoQ10 could reduce fatigue. Another 2022 meta-analysis of clinical trials found that CoQ10 at a dose of 100 to 200 milligrams could improve glycemic control, especially in diabetes. A 2024 meta-analysis on sports performance found that CoQ10 reduces muscle damage and oxidative stress, but with a dose-dependent manner over 100 milligrams per day. So there is some evidence for CoQ10 in terms of energy. However, there's not enough evidence to make claims about preventing heart disease, as shown by a 2014 Cochrane review of clinical trials. CoQ10 was seen to have no effect on blood pressure, cholesterol, or triglycerides. Another 2021 Cochrane review of clinical trials found no evidence to support or refute the use of CoQ10 for heart failure. But there is moderate quality evidence to suggest CoQ10 reduces all-cause mortality and hospitalization for heart failure. Another 2023 meta-analysis of 28 clinical trials found that CoQ10 supplementation appears to reduce heart disease deaths in patients with heart failure. DoNotAge has 100 milligrams of CoQ10 per capsule, which is the optimal dose. However, CoQ10 is fat-soluble, and you need to consume it with some fat. DoNotAge capsules are powdered capsules, not fat encapsulated. Spermidine is another popular supplement. Higher dietary spermidine intake of over 11.6 milligrams a day is associated with up to 30% lower mortality compared to below 9.1 milligrams a day in observational studies. You get spermidine from foods like mushrooms, wheat germ, vegetables, cheese, soy, legumes, and natto. Now this applies to dietary spermidine, and it could be that healthy foods just contain a lot of spermidine. So it might not be spermidine causing those effects, it's just that these healthy foods reduce your mortality risk. The problem here is that there's not that much evidence for supplemental spermidine. A 2023 randomized placebo-controlled study on healthy adults found that 15 milligrams a day of spermidine for 5 days didn't increase blood or salivary spermidine levels. A 2022 randomized controlled trial found that long-term spermidine supplementation in people with subjective cognitive decline didn't modify memory and biomarkers compared with placebo. One 2019 study did see that spermidine reduced cortisol in 83% of the male participants and in 37% of the female participants, and they also saw a moderate increase in DHEA and testosterone. However, it was a study on only 15 people, and not everyone saw those effects. So as of now, I would say that there's not that much evidence for spermidine supplementation, but you definitely want to eat the foods that have spermidine. DoNotAge has 8 milligrams of spermidine per capsule, which is lower than the 11 milligram threshold, but regardless, I'm not convinced that supplemental spermidine would work at the moment. Next, I'll go through the senolytics DoNotAge has. They're supposed to eliminate senescent cells that accumulate with age. Senescent cells are one of the main hallmarks of aging. DoNotAge has Fisetin, Quercetin, and Apigenin. Let's start with Fisetin, which is a flavonoid that belongs to the group of polyphenols. When it comes to elimination of senescent cells, then Fisetin appears to be superior to Quercetin, as shown by this 2018 study. In the same study, Fisetin was also seen to extend lifespan of mice. However, Fisetin didn't extend lifespan in the National Institute of Aging's Interventions Testing Program in 2023. The Interventions Testing Program is considered to be the gold standard for longevity testing for different molecules, because they use heterogeneous mice in 3 different laboratories. As of now, I wouldn't say that Fisetin has benefits for life extension, but it certainly helps with removing senescent cells. Fisetin also has anti-inflammatory effects, and it inhibits matrix metalloproteinases, MMPs, which break down collagen. A 2018 randomized controlled trial showed that Fisetin can reduce inflammatory markers, like CRP and MMPs, in colorectal cancer patients. So overall, Fisetin is a good addition if you want to target senescent cells specifically, but there's not that much evidence for life extension. DoNotAge has 400 milligrams of Fisetin per capsule, which is hard to say if it's an optimal dose, because there are no clinical trials establishing an effective dose for senescent cells yet. Quercetin is another flavonoid with anti-inflammatory effects. A 2018 study on aged mice saw that treating them with quercetin and another senolytic called dasatinib extended their lifespan by 36%. There is evidence that senolytics decrease senescent cells in humans, but we don't know what's the optimal dose or what's the optimal frequency because those studies haven't been done yet. In other clinical trials, quercetin does reduce inflammation, but it's been found to have no effect on upper respiratory tract infections, endothelial function, and depression levels. DoNotAge has 400 milligrams of quercetin per capsule, which again is hard to say if it is the optimal dose, because of lack of clinical trials. Apigenin is another senolytic, and pretty much the same story applies here as well. But one additional effect of Apigenin is that it inhibits CD38. CD38 is a glycoprotein that consumes NAD, and it's the primary reason why NAD levels decline with age. CD38 levels increase 2 to 3-fold during aging, paralleled by a decrease in NAD and mitochondrial function. Both Apigenin and Quercetin inhibit CD38, thus they can have NAD increasing effects. Both Quercetin and Apigenin have anti-inflammatory effects as well, which lower CD38, because inflammation is one of the biggest things that increases CD38. DoNotAge has 250 mg of Apigenin per capsule, which is again hard to say if it is the optimal dose. The next supplement is vitamin D3, K2 plus magnesium. Vitamin D3 is often called the sunshine vitamin, but it's actually a hormone produced when our skin is exposed to UVB radiation from sunlight. Vitamin D is essential for many functions in the body, which is why I call it the master hormone. There's certainly an association between higher blood vitamin D and lower risk of mortality, cardiovascular disease, multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes, osteoporosis, and arthritis. People with higher vitamin D levels have a lower risk of all-cause mortality. But vitamin D levels in the blood can be affected by many things, such as your exposure to sunlight, whether or not you eat foods that have vitamin D levels, which again tend to be healthier foods, and if you're overweight or not, because extra body fat reduces your vitamin D levels in the blood. Studies looking at vitamin D supplementation specifically do find that it does raise vitamin D levels and improve health outcomes. A 2023 meta-analysis of 80 randomized controlled trials concluded that vitamin D supplementation was associated with reduced risk of all-cause mortality, but not cardiovascular morbidity and cardiovascular mortality. I personally think that vitamin D supplements can be very useful if you have low vitamin D levels. They're going to increase your vitamin D levels. But you still want to get exposed to sunlight because sunlight has many other benefits that you don't get from a supplement. It's just that if there's no sunlight, it's the winter time, then you have no other choice but to supplement. DoNotAge has 125 micrograms of vitamin D3 per capsule, which is the equivalent of 5,000 IUs. Now, taking vitamin D alone isn't that good of an idea because it's going to mobilize calcium into the blood, which as we know increases the risk of cardiovascular events. That's why you need to take vitamin D together with K2, because K2 can actually reduce the risk of calcification. A 2023 meta-analysis of 14 randomized controlled trials concluded that vitamin K supplementation could slow down coronary artery calcification. The studies used about 100 to 2000 micrograms of vitamin K2 MK7. DoNotAge has 120 micrograms of K2 MK7 per capsule, which is a pretty good dose. This supplement also contains magnesium, which is good because magnesium activates vitamin D and it also counterbalances calcium. Magnesium is indeed one of those minerals that a lot of people aren't getting enough of, and magnesium deficiency increases the risk of many chronic inflammatory conditions. Magnesium deficiency is also at the center of all the hallmarks of aging. I don't think I really need to talk about magnesium a lot more. You can check out my recent videos about it. DoNotAge uses magnesium L-threonate, which is one of the most bioavailable forms for the brain, and it's also one of the highest quality types of magnesium. One capsule contains 250 milligrams of magnesium threonate, which is a pretty large amount and a very good dose. If you take 2 capsules, you get 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3, 240 micrograms of K2 MK7, and 500 milligrams of magnesium threonate, which is awesome. Next we have Berberine, which is often called nature's metformin and nature's Ozempic. 2 meta-analyses of randomized controlled trials from 2021 and 2022 show that Berberine effectively lowers blood sugar in diabetes as an adjunct therapy. However, Berberine hasn't been seen to be more effective than metformin in lowering blood sugar levels. When it comes to lipids and cholesterol, then Berberine is more effective than metformin, but not when it comes to blood sugar. For weight management, a 2020 meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials found that Berberine supplementation significantly reduces body weight, BMI, waist circumference, and inflammation levels. But again, Berberine isn't more effective than Ozempic for weight loss. It helps, but it's not that effective. DoNotAge has 500 milligrams of Berberine per capsule, which is a good amount, because then you can dose it properly. The effective dose is about 500 to 1000 milligrams a day. The next combo is Glycine and NAC or GlyNAC. Both glycine and NAC are precursors to glutathione, which is a powerful antioxidant. There are several clinical trials on elderly people that have shown how glycine and NAC supplementation improves functional outcomes related to aging, such as grip strength, walking speed, inflammation, body composition, and other hallmarks of aging. Glycine has been seen to extend the lifespan of mice in the interventions testing program by 4 to 6%. In terms of the hallmarks of aging, then glycine has quite a lot of effects. Glycine induces autophagy, which is one hallmark. Glycine also lowers inflammation, and it mimics methionine restriction, which has been seen to extend lifespan in animals. NAC also has quite interesting human studies, especially in regards to inflammation. A 2020 meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials concluded that NAC significantly decreased some markers of oxidative stress, such as homocysteine and MDA, but it had no effect on some other inflammatory markers, such as CRP or TNF-alpha. The mean dose in these studies was 500 to 2000 milligrams a day. DoNotAge has 300 mg of glycine and 300 mg of NAC per capsule, which is a very small amount compared to what's shown by the studies. Based on the GLYNAC studies, you need at least 2.5 grams of glycine and 2.5 grams of NAC each. You would have to get 8 capsules to reach that amount with DoNotAge. Next we have omega-3s. There's a long history of omega-3s benefiting heart disease. Two 2021 meta-analyses of randomized controlled trials found that supplementation of EPA and DHA at a dose of 0.4 to 6 grams a day was associated with a significant reduction in the risk of cardiovascular disease events and myocardial infarction in a dose-dependent manner, meaning the higher the dose, the greater the results. Every additional gram per day was linked to an additional 9% reduction in the risk of myocardial infarction. That's quite a large amount of studies on over 200,000 people. However, that's not it. Another 2024 meta-analysis of clinical trials found that omega-3 supplementation improves heart function, reduces inflammation, and decreases the risk of cardiovascular disease in patients with heart failure. On top of that, a 2020 meta-analysis of 26 randomized controlled trials concluded that omega-3s might improve insulin sensitivity and lipid metabolism in type 2 diabetics. Overall, the evidence suggests that getting enough omega-3s has benefits for heart health and brain health. With omega-3s, you can also measure your omega-3 index. An omega-3 index of 8% is the optimal zone. Check out my recent video explaining this. DoNotAge has 750 mg of omega-3s per soft gel, which provides 400 mg of EPA, 300 mg of DHA, and 100 mg of other omega-3s. You need to take 2 soft gels to reach the recommended 1.5 gram amount. And on top of that, DoNotAge omega-3s are the triglyceride form, which is the more bioavailable form. Next we have Resveratrol, which is one of the oldest longevity supplements out there. However, Resveratrol by now is known to not extend lifespan even in animals. A 2013 ITP study showed that Resveratrol does have benefits in lowering cholesterol and blood sugar in people with diabetes and obesity, but Resveratrol might also blunt some of the positive effects of exercise, which is why it might not be suitable for healthy people. DoNotAge has 500 mg of trans Resveratrol per scoop. Moving on with Sulforaboost, which is another trademark supplement by DoNotAge. Sulforaboost contains sulforaphane glucosinolate from broccoli seed extract and myrosinase enzyme, which is supposed to increase sulforaphane levels. When you eat things like cruciferous vegetables, mustard, or other greens, then you obtain glucoraphanin that gets converted into sulforaphane through the enzyme myrosinase. Sulforaphane promotes glutathione synthesis by activating the NRF2 antioxidant defense pathway. Research has found that sulforaphane has benefits in managing diabetes, blood pressure, Alzheimer's disease, inflammation, liver function, infections, and lipids. We need more clinical trials confirming those effects about sulforaphane, but so far it's quite interesting. DoNotAge has 230 mg of Sulforaboost per capsule, which is hard to say if it is the optimal dose at the moment. Suresleep is the last supplement I'm going to cover, and it's another trademark. One 4-gram serving of Suresleep contains 1 gram of magnesium glycinate, 1 gram of magnesium citrate, 1 gram of tryptophan, 500 mg of Prunus cerasus, 400 mg of theanine, and 100 mg of natural cherry flavor. That's quite a lot of magnesium and theanine. I guess the name Suresleep does it justice because it's probably going to knock you out. I think the ingredients themselves are great, but at the same time some people tend to react bad to things like tryptophan, so you need to try it out yourself. Alright, that's a wrap. We looked at all the supplements DoNotAge has at the moment. My overall rating for these supplements is 4.5 out of 5. You know what you're getting and exactly how much. The ingredients are high quality and tested. Most of the supplements have solid evidence from clinical trials, but some are based on speculations from animal studies or with limited human evidence. If you want me to review Brian Johnson's supplement stack, then check out this video next. Other than that, thanks for watching this video. Make sure to click the like and subscribe for future videos about living longer and staying healthier. My name is Siim. Stay optimized, stay empowered.